I was chosen to join a number of others, to take a perilous voyage to a new world. I resigned myself to silence, far from my own country.
This is the story of thousands like her, who found much more than exile. A land of mystery and adventure. A story of madmen and visionaries, saints and pirates, in a landscape of terrifying beauty. It is a story of the clash of empires, of battles to possess a continent,
the gunfire and bombardment terrorized the whole town. The women and children in great numbers near the citadel were continually in tears, wailing and praying.
It is a land swept by great political movements.
Et les droits de l'homme sont chers.
Would you live and die a slave?
Forged in the heat of rebellion. The story of ordinary people caught up in the great currents of history. But the battlefields of empire become the shores of hope. Hope for the adventurous, for the dispossessed, driven by dreams or carried on fever ships.
Winter was setting in. My father dug a cave in a riverbank, covered it with turf, and there was our apartment. Oh, how fortunate we felt. We would not have traded that root cellar for a royal palace.
And it's the story of millions who followed. The families fleeing persecution. The landless seeking land. The abandoned seeking anything. This is the story of how they built a nation that came of age and grew into the world. It is the testament of our fathers and our mothers. The story that shaped who we are. A dramatic and extraordinary story. Our own. She was a scullery maid in the Newfoundland outport of Exploits Bay, but she held the key to a great mystery. She had been found lost and starving in the winter woods. Her family was dead. The white people gave her shelter and nursed her back to health. The settlers named her Nancy, but she called herself Shauna Divot. They knew she was a Beothic Indian, but nothing more. Where were the rest of her people? The Beothic had always been mysterious. The early European fishermen called them the Red Indians because they painted masks of ochre on their faces. But when the first white settlers came to Newfoundland, the Beothic moved deep into the interior, away from the newcomers. For decades, there was hardly any contact. Then Shauna Divot was found. She came into the care of a St. John's merchant named William Cormac. Cormac was fascinated by the Beothic. He wanted to learn all he could about their history, their legends, and their fate. Shauna Divot became a woman to be studied.
Shauna Divot is now becoming very interesting as she improves in the English language and gains confidence in people around. I keep her very busily employed in drawing historical representations of everything that suggests itself relating to her tribe, which I find is the best and readiest way of gathering information from her.
Shauna Divot described her people to Cormac. Her home had been on the shores of a lake, defended by brambles, bogs, and twisted forests. If Cormac wanted answers about the Beothic, he would have to trek inland to Red Indian Lake.
We approached the lake with hope and caution, but found to our mortification that the Red Indians had deserted it for some years past. My party had been excited, so sanguine, so determined to obtain an interview of some kind with these people that, on discovering, from appearances everywhere around, that the Red Indians no longer existed, the spirits of one and all of us were deeply affected.
It was as if Shauna Divot had stumbled out of a land of ghosts. Unraveling the mystery of her people had become Cormac's obsession. How did they come to be here? The answers could only be found in unimaginably far-off places. Across an immense continent. For this was a story that began when the world was young. This is a story of ancient migrations and fields of ice. A testament written on the mountainsides. How the Creator made this world, the animals, and man. The memory is held by the stones, the drums, and the keepers of the stories.
I have lived here since the world began. The Creator made the world, and then he went to rest. And there, on the ground, is a stone image. It looks like a man. He breathes into the image. He blows his breath into the image's mouth, and the stone man comes alive.
Thousands of years before there was Rome, before Greece, before Egypt and Babylon, people were taking root in the Americas.
Camping ako mutakaktak dalaw kama itlumiyami apom
Eventually, as many as 15 million people lived here. In the northern reaches, the part that would one day be called Canada, more than 50 languages were spoken. They were villagers and nomads, farmers and hunters, peacemakers and warriors. They were the first people, and around fires at night, they shared stories of how their world came to be.